Lyle was one guy who could hit you so hard it didn't hurt.
Lyle was a man who survived being declared dead twice and was hardened in one of America's toughest prisons.
Well, I got stabbed, of course. What do you mean you got stabbed?
With a life forged in brutality and a reputation for bone-crushing punches, Lyle was now about to face off against a declining Muhammad Ali. As Ali steps into the ring, the question isn't whether Ali can win, but whether he'll even survive.
Introduction to the fight. It was the kind of night that legends are made. May 16, 1975. The Las Vegas Convention Center was abuzz with anticipation as boxing fans gathered to witness a clash of titans. The legendary Muhammad Ali was set to defend his WBA, WBC, and the ring heavyweight titles against the hard-hitting Lyle. It was a showdown between two men with something to prove. With a professional record of 46 wins and only 2 losses, Ali was the odds-on favorite. But boxing is a cruel mistress, and anything can happen inside the ropes. By 1975, Ali was in his second act, having returned to the sport after a controversial exile that began in 1966, when he refused military service during the Vietnam War. This was a man who had been to hell and back and was now on a mission to reclaim his place at the top. Just 7 months before this fight, Ali had pulled off what many considered a miracle by defeating George Foreman in the historic Rumble in the Jungle. That victory in Zaire had stunned the world, as Ali, against all odds, reclaimed the heavyweight crown that had been stripped from him years earlier. It was a triumph of willpower and strategy, with Ali outsmarting and outlasting the fearsome Foreman in the African heat. But the journey didn't end there. Less than 2 months before facing Lyle, Ali had taken on Chuck Wepner in a fight that saw the champion tested once again. Wepner, known as the Bayonne Bleeder, pushed Ali to his limits, but ultimately, the champ's skill and stamina won out as he battered Wepner into submission in the 15th round. Though victorious, the bout left no doubt that Ali's battles were becoming more intense, each opponent more determined to unseat the king. His current opponent, Lyle, was no pushover. This was a man who had climbed the ranks with relentless determination, amassing a record of 30 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. In just 4 years as a professional, Lyle had gone from a promising prospect to a serious threat in the heavyweight division. His aggressive style and ability to go toe-to-toe with anyone made him a crowd favorite and a nightmare for his opponents. Lyle's journey to this title shot wasn't without its bumps. He had suffered defeats at the hands of respected gatekeepers like Jerry Quarry and Jimmy Young. But these losses didn't define him. Rather, they hardened him, making him more determined to climb to the top. Even a draw against Gregorio Peralta couldn't dampen Lyle's resolve. He had proven time and again that he had the heart and the skills to hang with the best. When Lyle was tapped to face Ali, some questioned whether he was ready, especially coming off a loss to Jimmy Young. But others saw the match as a genuine test for the 33-year-old Ali, who, despite his recent victories, was not getting any younger. Lyle's power and relentless pressure posed a serious threat to Ali, who was well aware that his opponent wouldn't be intimidated by his legendary status. As the two fighters squared off in Las Vegas, the stage was set for an epic battle. Ali, the seasoned champion with a point to prove, versus Lyle, the hungry challenger looking to make his mark. The fight would be a test of wills, skill, and endurance, with the heavyweight crown hanging in the balance. The world watched, eager to see if Ali could once again defy the odds, or if Lyle would be the one to finally topple the greatest. The challenger, Lyle. Lyle's journey to the ring was anything but smooth. He grew up in the rough streets of inner-city Denver, Colorado, where trouble found him early. As a teenager, he got mixed up with local gangs, a lifestyle that often led to brushes with the law. At just 19, after dropping out of Manual High School, Lyle's life took a dramatic turn. He was involved in the shooting death of a 21-year-old gang rival. Lyle claimed he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger and argued that he was defending himself from an attack with a lead pipe. However, the jury didn't buy his story, and he was convicted of second-degree murder. The sentence was severe, 15 to 20 years in the notorious Colorado State Penitentiary. Prison life was brutal, and Lyle learned that the hard way. Shortly after his arrival, He was attacked and stabbed by another inmate. The assault left him clinging to life on an operating table. It took 36 blood transfusions to save him. The experience was a wake-up call, and it marked a turning point for Lyle. During a 90-day stint in solitary confinement following the incident, Lyle began to transform himself. With nothing but time on his hands, he started doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and any other exercises he could think of in his tiny cell. The physical activity became his escape, a way to reclaim some control over his life. When he was finally released from solitary, Lyle had built himself into a solid block of muscle, and he kept up his rigorous training regimen. Lyle's first encounter with boxing came on July 4, 1962, as a spectator at a prison boxing event. Watching the action from the sidelines, something clicked. He realized that he could do what those guys in the ring were doing, maybe even do it better. It didn't take long for him to lace up a pair of gloves and step into the ring himself. His prison boxing debut came 2 years later, in 1964. That first match didn't go as planned. Lyle was defeated by a fellow inmate named Texas Johnson, but that loss only fueled his fire. From that point on, he didn't lose a single fight in prison. Over the next few years, Lyle racked up an impressive string of victories, winning 6 heavyweight titles within the inmate ranks. He fought in around 25 amateur matches while serving his sentence, and by the time he was released on parole on November 9, 1969, he had become a formidable fighter. He had served only 7.5 years of his sentence, but he was a different man from the one who had walked into prison all those years ago. After his release, Lyle's amateur boxing career outside of prison was brief, lasting just 14 months. During that time, he compiled a record of 25 wins and 4 losses. It was a solid foundation, but Lyle knew he was getting a late start. He was already 30 years old when he decided to turn pro, but that didn't stop him. Under the guidance of promoter Bill Daniels and trainer Bobby Lewis, Lyle stepped into the professional ring for the first time in Denver, Colorado. His opponent was AJ Staples, and Lyle knocked him out in the second round, making a statement that he was here to stay. With a ferocious determination and raw power, he quickly climbed the ranks, racking up 19 consecutive wins, 17 of them by knockout. He soon climbed the ranks to become the 5th-rated heavyweight contender. With his signature beard and fists that packed dynamite, Lyle was an intimidating presence in the ring. He had the ability to take heavy hits and give them right back, which made him a fighter no one could ignore. Now, this bearded warrior was set to face Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. For Lyle, this was the chance to prove that his hard road to the top had been worth it. The build-up to the fight. As the fight drew closer, the excitement in the air was palpable. Everyone knew that Muhammad Ali wasn't just any boxer. He was a showman, a master of mind games, and a man who always knew how to stir the pot.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. George can't hit what his eyes can't see.
True to form, Ali didn't shy away from making bold predictions. In the lead-up to the fight, he confidently declared that he would take Ron Lyle down in the 8th round. It was classic Ali, cocky, charismatic, and always ready to put on a show. His prediction was a tactic to get inside Lyle's head, to make the challenger second-guess himself before even stepping into the ring. Ali's 8th round prediction quickly became the talk of the town. Reporters couldn't get enough of it, and fans started placing bets not just on whether Ali would win, but on whether he would do it in the round he had promised.
All I represent in my confidence. I am the greatest. I cannot lose. I'm pretty. And every man believes he's the greatest.
But this was more than just talk. Ali had a history of making good on his predictions, famously calling the exact round in several of his previous fights. It wasn't just arrogance. It was a way of asserting his dominance, of letting everyone know that he was in control, both in and out of the ring. Yet, for all his confidence, Ali wasn't underestimating Lyle. He knew that Lyle was a dangerous opponent, a man who had fought his way up from the streets and the prison yard to become one of the top contenders in the heavyweight division. But Ali's bravado was a way of psyching himself up as well. He thrived on the pressure, on the expectations he set for himself. By predicting an 8th round knockout, he was pushing himself to live up to his own legend.
You have a bodyguard.
No.
You don't?
I got one bodyguard. He has no eyes, though he sees.
On the other side, Ron Lyle wasn't the kind of man to be easily rattled. His determination was unshakable. He wasn't just stepping into the ring to collect a paycheck or to enjoy a moment in the spotlight. He was there to prove something, to himself, to the world, and to anyone who had ever doubted him. Lyle knew that this was his chance to make history, to go toe-to-toe with the greatest heavyweight of the era.
Muhammad means worthy of all praises, and Ali means most high.
And come out on top. And he wasn't about to let Ali's mind games distract him from that goal. In the weeks leading up to the fight, Lyle trained harder than ever. He pushed himself to the limit in the gym, honing his skills, sharpening his punches, and preparing his body for the battle that lay ahead. His camp was laser-focused, blocking out the noise from Ali's camp and the media, and zeroing in on the strategies that would give him the best chance of victory. Lyle knew that if he could weather the early rounds, he had the power and the endurance to give Ali a run for his money. As fight night approached, the contrast between the two fighters couldn't have been clearer. Ali was the established champion, full of confidence and swagger, while Lyle was the hungry challenger, determined to prove that he belonged in the ring with the best. The tension built with each passing day as fans and pundits speculated about whether Ali's prediction would come true or if Lyle would pull off the upset of a lifetime.
Yeah, Ali, that's the only thing about Ali. When you were watching Ali get beaten up as an old man, even as a young kid, he's not going to quit. You got to kill him.
Fight night, May 16th, 1975. Fight night arrived, and the energy in the Las Vegas Convention Center was electric. The world had been waiting for this moment, and as Muhammad Ali stepped into the ring, all eyes were on him. At 224.5 pounds, Ali was at his heaviest weight ever, a fact that didn't go unnoticed by those who had followed his career closely. Across the ring, Ron Lyle stood at 219 pounds, also the heaviest of his career. He looked solid, every bit the powerhouse that had bulldozed his way to this moment. Lyle was here to fight and take what he believed was his. The two men were like heavyweights in every sense of the word.
The heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
Both physically at their peak and mentally prepared for the battle ahead. Ali had promised the crowd a show, and everyone expected him to deliver. But from the opening bell, it was clear that Ali was taking a different approach.
By the Supreme Court of the United States. Now the bell for round one.
He wasn't throwing many punches, content instead to absorb Lyle's powerful blows. The Vegas crowd, eager for action, watched as Lyle found his rhythm early, landing solid punches that had Ali on the defensive. In the very first round, Lyle even managed to bloody the champ's nose, a sight that had the audience buzzing. But Ali's nose didn't bleed again, and he remained calm, almost as if he had expected this early storm. Throughout the early rounds, Lyle consistently jarred Ali with his punches, particularly with that right hand that seemed to find its mark more often than not. But Ali, ever the tactician, absorbed the punishment and used the ropes to his advantage. In the fifth round, Ali started to dance, taunting Lyle with jabs while letting himself get pinned against the ropes. It was as if Ali was testing Lyle, seeing how much the challenger could throw before he started to tire. As the fight progressed, Ali began to give the crowd a taste of what they came for. In the sixth round, he broke out the famous Ali shuffle, his feet moving in a blur that sent the crowd into a frenzy. It was a classic Ali move, a reminder that even when he was playing it cool, he was still the greatest showman boxing had ever seen. The shuffle seemed to momentarily throw Lyle off, but the challenger quickly refocused, continuing to press Ali with his powerful right hand. But Ali knew what he was doing. He was setting Lyle up, bouncing on the balls of his feet, stinging the challenger with precise jabs in rounds 6 and 7. It was a display of finesse and control, Ali at his most strategic. As the fight entered the 8th round, Ali's prediction loomed large. The leggy blonde showgirl from the Tropicana Hotel strutted past with the round card held high, and Ali couldn't help but take notice. This was supposed to be the moment he had called, the round where he would put Lyle away. The pressure was on, but Ali was never one to shy away from a challenge. From a flat-footed stance, Ali went on the attack, trying to fulfill his promise of an 8th-round knockout. But Lyle, cornered and sensing the urgency, wasn't about to let it happen easily. He fought back fiercely, landing a particularly jarring right hand that kept Ali from closing in for the kill. It was clear that if Ali wanted to win, he would have to dig even deeper.
But it's a TKO. Muhammad Ali successfully in the 11th round defends.
The turning point. Muhammad Ali was more than just a boxer. He was a master tactician. He had an uncanny ability to size up his opponent, recognizing their strengths and weaknesses, and then adapt his strategy as the fight progressed. This was no different in his bout against Lyle. While Lyle had performed admirably throughout the early rounds, landing solid punches and keeping Ali on his toes, Ali was playing the long game. He knew that Lyle, despite his impressive power, would start to wear down as the fight dragged on. Ali's plan was simple. Let Lyle tire himself out, then capitalize on his fatigue with the speed and precision that had made him a legend. By the time the fight reached the 11th round, Ali's strategy was beginning to pay off. It was clear that Lyle was exhausted. His punches, once fierce and dangerous, had lost their snap, and he was now pawing at the air, struggling to keep up with the relentless pace. Ali sensed that the moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. It was time to go in for the kill. Ali began with a couple of sharp, range-finding jabs, designed to throw Lyle off balance and disrupt his rhythm. They were the kind of punches that didn't do much damage on their own, but served as a distraction, setting Lyle up for what was coming next.
Chicky Ferrara prepared Lyle for a tactical fight. The 8th round was a big round, and then suddenly you did away with him in the 11th.
And what came next was vintage Ali. With lightning speed, he threw a right hand and then unleashed a flurry of combinations that caught Lyle off guard. The challenger, who had fought so bravely until now, found himself backed up against the ropes, covering up in a desperate attempt to weather the storm. But Ali wasn't about to let him off the hook. He was one of the sport's most ruthless finishers, and he knew exactly what to do when he had his opponent hurt. Taking half a step back, Ali drew Lyle out of his defensive shell just enough to land a few more clean shots. Each punch was precise, each one designed to break Lyle down further. The crowd could sense that the end was near, and so could Ali. As Lyle wilted under the relentless assault, Ali made a move that only a fighter of his caliber could pull off. He turned to the referee, Ferd Hernandez, and pleaded with him to stop the fight. Ali could see that Lyle had nothing left, and that continuing the bout would only lead to unnecessary punishment. Hernandez, recognizing the situation, stepped in and called a halt to the action just 68 seconds of the 11th round. It was over. Ali had won by technical knockout. Lyle, still dazed from the barrage, protested the stoppage, insisting that he could continue. But it was clear to everyone, including Lyle himself, that he had given all he had to give. As he staggered back to his corner, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. This was a man who had fought with every ounce of strength and courage he possessed, but in the end, it wasn't enough to overcome Ali's brilliance. At the time of the stoppage, Lyle was actually ahead on 2 of the judges' scorecards, while the 3rd judge had it even. It was proof of how well Lyle had fought and how close he had come to pulling off the upset of a lifetime. But with 4 rounds still to go, and Ali clearly taking control, the referee's decision was inevitable. Lyle had put up a valiant fight, but Muhammad Ali had once again proven why he was the greatest. He had outlasted, outthought, and ultimately outfought a tough and determined challenger. The fight was over, and Ali's legend had grown just a little bit larger. The aftermath. After the fight, Muhammad Ali didn't emerge unscathed. He sported a prominent bruise, a purplish swelling under his left eye. Lyle's corner, however, wasn't pleased with how things ended. They felt the referee had been too quick to stop the bout. Ali himself admitted that he deserved to be trailing on the judges' scorecards. He acknowledged that he had lost several rounds, explaining that he had purposely sacrificed them to tire Lyle out. On the other side, Lyle was quick to downplay Ali's late-round triumph, as fighters who have been knocked out often do. He admitted that Ali had caught him with a couple of good punches, but expressed surprise that the referee had stopped the fight when he did. While Lyle believed he could have continued, most observers felt that the referee had made the right call. Lyle was clearly exhausted, and Ali was beginning to land punches at will. Continuing the fight would likely have led to more serious damage for Lyle. Despite the tough fight, Ali had successfully defended his ring championship. By this point in his career, Some speculated that his best performances were behind him. Yet, even if Ali wasn't at his absolute peak, he still had enough in the tank to secure some significant victories following this bout. Just over a month later, Ali was back in the ring, this time in Malaysia, where he faced Joe Bugner. It was a fight he won handily, but it was just a warm-up for what was to come. 4 months after his victory over Lyle, Ali pushed his body to the edge in the brutal Thrilla in Manila, his third and final bout with Joe Frazier. The fight was a grueling affair, with both men digging deeper than ever before. Ali emerged victorious, but it was a win that came at a tremendous cost. The battle took so much out of him that he later remarked it was the closest thing to dying he had ever experienced. But Ali's journey didn't end there. He continued to face tough challenges in the ring, including his third fight with Ken Norton, a bout that many still debate to this day. Norton pushed Ali to the limit, but Ali eked out a controversial decision to retain his title. Then came his clash with Ernie Shavers, a man known for his devastating power. It was another brutal encounter, but Ali's endurance and skill saw him through to another victory. As Ali's career began to wind down, he faced the young and hungry Leon Spinks in back-to-back fights. Spinks shocked the world by defeating Ali in their first encounter, but Ali came back strong in the rematch to reclaim his title, making history as the first man to win the heavyweight championship 3 times. Finally, in a fight that many believe he should never have taken, he would face his former sparring partner, Larry Holmes. By then, Ali was a shadow of his former self, and Holmes dominated the fight, marking the end of Ali's illustrious career. Ron Lyle's story, however, took a different turn. While he never captured a world title, his impact on the heavyweight division was undeniable. Following his defeat to Ali, Lyle continued to engage in wars with some of the era's most fearsome punchers, including George Foreman and Ernie Shavers. His battle with Foreman is still regarded as one of the most exciting heavyweight fights of all time, with both men exchanging knockdowns in a dramatic contest that Foreman ultimately won. Lyle's fight with Shavers was another brutal encounter, showcasing the incredible toughness that had defined his career. Losing to Ali was far from disgraceful for Lyle, especially given that he was leading on 2 of the judges' scorecards at the time of the stoppage. But unfortunately for Lyle, this was his only shot at a world title. He would go on to fight for several more years, but the opportunity to wear the heavyweight crown never came again. Lyle's legacy as one of the most formidable contenders of his era remains secure. Ali's impact on boxing and beyond. Muhammad Ali was more than just a boxer. He was a man whose legacy transcended the sport and left a lasting impact on the world. When people talk about the greatest, they're not just referring to his incredible skill inside the ring, but also to the way he redefined what it meant to be a champion. Ali's legacy in the ring is undeniable. With his unique blend of speed, power, and unmatched charisma, he brought a level of excitement to boxing that had never been seen before. He wasn't just fighting opponents, he was fighting expectations, challenging the norms of what a heavyweight could do. His ability to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee was more than just a catchy phrase. It was a revolutionary approach to the sport. But Ali's impact didn't stop at the ropes. Outside the ring, he became a symbol of strength, resilience, and social change. At a time when the world was divided by issues of race, war, and inequality, Ali stood tall, refusing to back down from his beliefs. His decision to refuse induction into the United States military during the Vietnam War was a bold statement, one that cost him dearly in terms of his boxing career, but it also cemented his status as a champion of human rights. Ali wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and his words carried weight far beyond the world of sports. He became a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of hope for those fighting against injustice. Ali's influence extended to every corner of the globe. He united people from all walks of life with his charm, confidence, and strong belief in himself. He showed the world that greatness wasn't only about winning titles, it was about standing up for what you believe in, even when it's tough. Whether he was in the ring or speaking out in public, Ali inspired people to dream big, fight hard, and never give up. Honoring Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was also a pop culture icon who stood shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Frank Sinatra, as noted by Rolling Stone magazine. Ali's reach even earned him a star on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame. But in true Ali fashion, he did things his way. His star is the only one mounted on a wall rather than on the sidewalk. Why? Because he wouldn't allow anyone to step on the name Muhammad, honoring his respect for the Prophet. Ali's influence didn't stop at sports. He left his mark on the entertainment industry too. In 1963, he released a spoken word album titled I Am the Greatest, which climbed to number 61 on the charts. This album, along with his rhythmic speech, earned him the nickname the father of rap music. Ali was even nominated for 2 Grammys during his lifetime. The first, of course, was for I Am the Greatest. But perhaps more surprisingly, in 1976, he was nominated again for an album promoting children's dental hygiene, which was called The Adventures of Ali and His Gang versus Mr. Tooth Decay. Ali's life has also been immortalized in more than 10 films, including the Oscar-winning documentary When We Were Kings, which recounted his legendary fight against George Foreman in 1974. When we look back at Muhammad Ali, it's clear he was more than the greatest boxer of all time. He was a cultural force, a man whose influence stretched across music, film, and social movements. Ali may be gone, but his spirit is still alive, inspiring every fight for justice, equality, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.